Hi, welcome to Grade 2 Math with Mrs. Farrington. Today we're going to be telling time to the half hour. And we're going to start by looking at the types of clocks that we have. And there are two types of clock. The first one is an analog clock. And an analog clock is a clock that shows the time by the positions of the hour and the minute hand. And here's an example of an analog clock. And we can see on this analog clock, we see here, this is called the face, and these are called the hands. We're not focusing on this particular hand. This is the second hand. But what we're going to look at is the minute hand and the hour hand. So the minute hand is the longer hand, and the hour hand is the shorter hand. And this entire area is called the face. Now, on an analog clock, it moves this way. So I'm moving it from the back because I took the battery out. But as I move, you see the minute hand moves. And as the minute hand moves, the hour hand also moves. And the way that it moves, notice it's going a particular way. It is going this way towards the right. This is called clockwise. That's the direction that it goes in, clockwise. Now, on an analog clock, we have numbers, and we have the numbers from 1 to 12. These big numbers are the hours, and then in between here, these lines, all of these are the minutes. And the minutes go from 1 minute straight to 60. So that's the analog clock. We're going to come back to this when we do some examples. The next type of clock is called the digital clock. And the digital clock is a clock that shows the time with numbers of hours and minutes. For example, look at this digital clock here. Or check out my iPad. If you look at it, well, you can't really see it because it's a bit dark. But it also has a digital clock. When we look on our tablets, we see the digital clock. It shows us the numbers. So each analog clock, as I had said, has an hour hand and a minute hand. And the hour hand is the hand that on the clock that tells the hour. It's the shorter one, and it points to the hours. Then we have the minute hand. The minute hand is the longer hand on the clock. Now let's get our analog clock back. We're going to be using this. Now we looked at the word hour, and an hour is a unit of time equal to 60 minutes. So what that means is every time this minute hand goes around from here, from 1, and it goes straight around to 60, this hour hand is going to move. So I started there, and notice by the time it reaches back here, it has gone on from 3 to 4. That's an hour. Then we have here the minute, a unit of time equal to 60 seconds. So a minute, when this hand, which is the second hand, this hand will also go straight around, and this goes pretty fast. This will move by 1. It'll move to each of these first. So when the minute hand points directly to 12, this is o'clock. O'clock. Or the way we write o'clock, the way we write o'clock is this. We see it on the digital clocks. For example, here on this analog clock, it's 4, the hour, and it's pointing to the 12 o'clock. We don't say 4:12, and we don't say 4:60. We say 4 o'clock. That is for hours. Now, when it's half past, And half past means that this minute hand is traveling and it's going down. It's traveling and it's going down. Half past means the minute hand is at 6 and the hour hand is between two numbers. So first, it's what? It's 4 o'clock. The minute hand is on the 12, the hour hand is 4. So as it moves down, it's going down, still 4 o'clock. Now, this is where it sometimes can be tricky. The hour hand isn't quite on 4, but it's between the two numbers. It's halfway. So what that means is we're halfway between 4 o'clock. So it is 4:30. That's half an hour. 4:30. Okay? So let's do another example. Let's do another example. I'm going to roll my clock back, show you this. So here we have the minute hand is on 12. That means it's o'clock. The hour hand is on 2. And we always write our hour first. So I will write 2 dot dot. And I'm not writing 12 and I'm not writing 60. It's 2 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock. The long hand is on 12. The short hand is on 2. So for half of 12 is 6. So for half, my minute hand is going to move. And watch my minute hand. My minute hand is moving. My minute hand is moving. And you can see that as my minute hand moves, the hour hand is moving ever so slightly. So when I reach 6, because this is half, if I take my ruler, 6 is half. So half, it's 30. It's halfway between 2 and 3. So it's in between two numbers. It's still 2 o'clock. It's 2:30. So I'm halfway between 2 o'clock, 2:30. So the minute hand points to the 6 and the hour hand points in between, halfway in the middle of 2 and 3. It's 2:30. So let's review. An hour has 60 minutes. There's 60 minutes in 1 hour. But a half hour has 30 minutes. Half means it's split right down the middle. And each number on the clock is for 1 hour, so it's 1 to 12. And then the minutes are in between. It goes straight around. Here's what we're going to do now. We are going to practice, and we're going to practice a worksheet. And what we're going to do on it is we're going to look at the clock and write down the digital time. So on this particular worksheet, we have the clock face and the time is on it in the analog. And we have to write the digital time. So we're going to do this first row together. For number one, let's look closely. We have, I'm bringing it up for you to see. We know that it's 30 because the long hand, the minute hand is on 6. So that's definitely, it's something 30. But then our short hand, our hour hand, it's in between, in the middle of 4 and 5. Very good. It's in between 4 and 5, which means it's 4:30. It's halfway through 4 o'clock, 4:30. Let's look at the second one. Ah, we have our hand is on 7, pointing straight at 7, and 12. The minute hand is on 12. So we have 7, and we know that when the minute hand is pointing to the 12, it's o'clock. It's not 7:12, it's not 7:60, it's o'clock whenever it points to the 12. So for number 3 now, our hand, we have to look very closely. Our hand is between 1 and 2. It's halfway. It's halfway between 1 and 2, which means it's 1, and then the minute hand is on 6:30. So 1:30. Anytime, just in case you are still a bit confused, let me do that one with you together. This is 1 o'clock. So for 1:30 means that, make sure, 1:30, look at it. It's halfway between the 1 and the 2. It's not 2 o'clock yet. It's still 1. So it's 1:30. So we look at the number that it was leaving. That's this one. Okay, now for this particular worksheet, it says draw in the minute and hour hands to match the digital time. This worksheet is the opposite. We have the digital time. This time we have to draw in the hands on the face of the watch or the clock. So we're going to do 1 and 2 together. The first one, this is 5 o'clock. So for 5 o'clock, I know that my shorthand is going to be pointing to the number 5. And then my longhand, remember anytime it's o'clock, 00, it's going to point to the 12. So 5 o'clock, it matches this. Now for this one, 9:30. It's 9:30. 30 means I'm halfway. So it can't point directly to the 9. I would have to, my shorthand would point halfway between 9 and 10. And then my long hand, my minute hand, would be at 6. So my shorthand would not point straight to the 9. It'll go a little off of the 9, in between, in the middle of 9 and 10, and for 9, and to the 6 for 30. So it's 9:30, or 9:30. Now for the word problems, it says Mrs. Roll wakes up at 5:30 to go to super value. Draw the minute hand and hour hand on the clock to show the time she wakes up. Wow, Mrs. Roll is getting up very early to go to the food store. Do you know what that means? She's a senior citizen, because you know when the food stores open, the hours of 6 to 8 are for senior citizens. So she's trying to get there for 6 a.m. All right. So you're going to draw the hands on the clock to show 5:30, the time which Mrs. Rule got up, so that she can get the super value for 6 a.m. Then for number 8, let's read number 8. Tamiko goes to Boys Brigade when the hour hand points between 5 and 6, and the minute hand points to the 6. What time does Tamiko go to Boys Brigade? So on this one, you have to draw the hands. The hour hand points between the 5 and the 6, and the minute hand points to the 6, and then you will write what time it is. So you have to do both the analog as well as the digital. Number 9. Kalika and Lene are going for conch salad when the hour hand points to 3 and the minute hand points to 12. What time are they going for conch salad? Once again, you have to do the analog time. You're going to draw in the hands. And then you will write the digital time. So the hour hand will point to the 3 and the minute hand to the 12. You draw them in and then write the time. So that's your assignment for there. So this has been grade 2 math with Mrs. Farrington. Please continue to stay safe, practice social distancing, stay indoors. Don't forget to wash your hands, sanitize, sanitize. We want to quickly get out of the lockdown so that we can adjust to our new normal, get to our classrooms, talk with each other, and get back to some work. Take care.